So what are we talking about today, Dr. Kathy?
All right. Today we are going to begin a series of discussions on nutrition. And I've
Hmm.
titled it Nutrition 101 because we want to get to the basics, the foundation of our nutrition, and understand how we can make better choices so we can feel better, look better, have more energy, have more vitality, and have less sickness in ourselves and in our families.
Beautiful. I'm excited about that because, of course, as I've been listening to you, recognize more and more the importance of nutrition in order to stay healthy. Because I guess we think more of we get sick, we run to the doctor, but we can actually stay healthy by just practicing a few can I say simple things in our lives. Just start eating right every day. I'm just curious, why is it nutrition so important?
Well, you know what? We had said prior that our lifestyle choices affect our health. And there are many different choices that we make every day that will determine the outcome of tomorrow. So while food isn't the only important choice, it is the foundation of our health because the food that we choose builds up our cells. Cells build up tissues. Tissues build up organs. And the function of those organs determines how well we feel and function every single day. So it's important that we not leave nutrition to the side. It should be a foundation in our discussion in our schools, in our colleges, in our universities, and in our homes. We should be able to talk to our kids about nutrition and really understand what's good for our bodies and what's not good for our bodies. And the more our children understand, Pastor, the better their chances of leading a healthy life and not having to deal with the same chronic illnesses that are plaguing our society right now.
Now, but why shouldn't I leave this to the expert though?
You know what?
Isn't that what I say, why shouldn't we leave this to the expert? The doctors
Yes.
that are like yourself. Why should we get involved in it?
Well, first of all, I have to make it very clear. Doctors are not the experts on nutrition. As we are experts on diagnosing diseases and managing them. That's what we are trained to do. So it's very difficult to look to your doctor for nutritional advice. Those of us who know a little bit about nutrition is because we have an interest and we have studied this. So that's how I am able to talk to you about nutrition. I did not learn this in medical school, and many of my colleagues, like I was prior, do not understand how nutrition correlates with health. So you can't depend on your doctor per se, and it's not their fault, it's just the way the system is designed. We are designed to diagnose disease and manage disease. That's what we do best. You can't leave it to the nutritionist because this is your body. This is your health. You can't leave your money unattended. Yes, you get advice from money experts, but if you completely ignore your money, it will disappear. The same thing with your health. You can't just leave your health into the hands of somebody else. You have to go to the driver's seat, take hold of that steering wheel, and direct your health, direct your own life. And it's not hard. You just have to take some time to become educated, and really, step by step, you will get to the point where you're feeling better and you're saying, wow, I'm so glad I made those changes because it's more than worth it.
Yeah, I've had the same doctor for about 15 years, and I think about 10 years ago, they diagnosed me with, at the time, hypertension, he
Okay.
said. And it intrigued me that over those years, never once have I ever remember my doctor having a discussion with me and said, "Well, Steve, how's your diet?" Now he says stay away from salt. So
That's good.
he says stay away from salt, but not in terms of lifestyle, anything. I mean, since that time, I've learned all kinds of things that have pretty much taken it away so that I don't take medication for it anymore. And he thinks I'm taking
Wonderful.
medication, by the way. But he's never had a discussion. He comes, checks my pressure. Oh, it's good, it's good. And he swears the medication is doing it. And I'm saying to myself, he's a doctor. How come he doesn't know that there are certain foods, if I just eat it and, and he will say, I got to give him credit. He always says, are you keeping up your exercise? He always asks that question. And he knows I'm kind of like an exercise freak. You walking around and, so that those two
Yes.
things he'll say, stay away from the salt and at least exercise. He's really onto
Yes.
that exercise. But in terms of, nutritionally, never, I mean. And I'm intrigued because I go to these health seminars and I hear them say so and so and so. And never once did he say, oh, if you take some celery, for example, it'll help lower your blood pressure. Never. So,
Yes. And it's
I
really not
agree with
fair
you.
to expect that much from your physician, even though intuitively we understand that our food is directly linked to our health. As physicians, we are not taught about food and how it affects our health. So we're expecting too much when we want our doctors to be masters of nutrition because we have not been trained that way. Only those of us who have a particular interest, who educate ourselves, who go, and get additional training, will be able to really help you understand proper nutrition. So, we can't fault the doctors because it's not a part of our toolkit.
I see. So now, as we talk about nutrition, I don't know, are we going to be talking about carbs? We're going to be talking about what exactly are we actually going to
Yeah,
be talking
sure.
about?
So I am going to break it down, and we will
Hmm.
not finish everything today. So we're not going to rush. The beauty of our time together is that we
Hmm.
meet 3 times a week and we get to
Yes.
just talk and break things down. This is not
Hmm.
a rush time together because I want folks to really understand education is the key to really turning around some of our lifestyle problems. If we are better educated, we can really conquer a lot of these illnesses. So I'm going to share my screen here with you and with okay.
Ooh, beautiful.
Now let's make this bigger. 1 second here. I'm going to bring this over, make it big, and we're going to talk about nutrition. All right, so Nutrition 101. It's easiest to break nutrition down into two categories, or macronutrients and or micronutrients. Or macros are made up of carbohydrates, we've heard that term, proteins, and fats. Those are the three main macro, the building block nutrients. Then you have your micronutrients. We don't need as much of those every day, but we certainly need them to be healthy. Those are our vitamins and or minerals. So that's the basic breakdown of nutrition. Now, the one that we need the most for energy are the carbohydrates. Those are the body's premium fuel. All throughout the world, the basis of the average diet comes from carbohydrates. Those break down into sugars, and it's the sugar that gives us the energy. The sugar is taken broken down to glucose that goes to the cells, and then your cells can burn, make energy, give off water, carbon dioxide. But the cells need that glucose. They're begging for the glucose to get their work done. Now, many times when folks hear carbs, they back up. Oh, carbs are bad. No, carbs are not bad. Carbs are your friend. I'm going to say it again, and I want you to hear me very clearly. Carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are your friend. Now, you have to be careful, though. There are different types of carbs. There's always a masquerader that goes around and wants to give the good guy a bad rap. Now, complex carbs are your friends. Complex carbs are the true source of excellent energy and good nutrition. And you find complex carbs in plants. Now, the healthy carbs are in plants that are not processed, that are not refined, your plant-based foods. Why? They're high in fiber. And I sometimes call myself the fiber queen because fiber is so important, and I'm always looking for fiber. I want more fiber because I know that's what's going to keep my colon clean, keep my cholesterol down, and keep my cells and organs much happier, because fiber is a broom that constantly sweeps and keeps the environment clean. So plant-based foods are high in fiber. They're also high in antioxidants and phytochemicals. Now, what are antioxidants? We've mentioned this before. Antioxidants, they go around your blood looking for something called free radicals. Free radicals, think of them as like thugs, like bad guys, patrolling your whole body, looking to cause damage. They really wreck organs. Your antioxidants just go and they bind them up and they make them inactivated. So plant-based foods are high in antioxidants and phytochemicals. Phytochemicals, they fight for you. I'm telling you, plants are amazing. I just, I'm just blown away when I think about how plants heal the body and how plants were prepared for us to prevent disease. Now, plant-based carbs or unprocessed, unrefined carbs do not lead to high sugar in your blood. In fact, because they have fiber wrapped up with the sugar, they release their glucose very slowly over time. So there are no spikes in blood sugar. It just slowly rises and it's steady, and then it slowly comes down. Complex carbs, they have so much fiber that the calories that you take in are just moderate. They're high in nutrition and they have moderate amount of calories. They're not high calorie foods. Now, what are examples of healthy carbs? Well, yams. Yams are an excellent example of healthy carbs. Potatoes, grains. We know what grains are. Grains are like your rice, your bulgur, your quinoa, your oats. Those are all grains. And then your beans. Beans are excellent. They're high in starch. I know some people are afraid of beans because they think that the starch makes them fat, but that's far from the truth. The starch gives you energy, and beans are a wonderful way to get phytochemicals, fiber, and energy, and protein. And then your vegetables, super high in fiber, and your starchy vegetables can provide a lot of energy, like your carrots and broccoli and other types of vegetables. Now, here are the bad guys. These are the guys that give carbs a bad rap. Um, Soft drinks. Nobody thinks of soda pops as having carbs, but yes, they have a lot of sugar that it comes from carbs, and those are the bad guys. Uh, just sugar, that you add to your foods. Candy. Candy's high in sugar and starches. White bread, pastry, crackers. You know, every time I go back to Jamaica, I'm amazed to see how much crackers are a staple of every home. Like there's always 2 or 3 bags of crackers in the cupboards, and that's not healthy. Crackers are not natural. Crackers are refined and they're processed, and they really help put on the pounds. And they're not a natural plant-based food. So it can be hard to pull away from some of our usual comfort foods and things that we eat instinctively. And something as simple as a cracker, you're like, how can crackers be bad? But think of it. Does a cracker look like any food from the ground or off the tree? It's highly processed and refined, right? And that's always a clue I use when folks are saying, "Ah, is this unprocessed?" I say, "Okay, is this looking close to the way it was on the tree or on the vine or from the ground? If it looks real different, then it's probably refined and processed, and that's a good marker to follow." White rice is not your friend because it's been stripped of its outer core, of its fiber, of its vitamin B. So when you're eating your rice, you want your rice to be brown rice, black rice, wild rice. Those have a lot more fiber. Um, and then French fries, potatoes are good. Potatoes are excellent. I eat potatoes almost every day. But when you dip them in really hot oil and then you add a lot of salt and a lot of oil and ketchup, it's no longer a health food. And many snack foods are very refined, and those are the bad carbs. So I like to think of it as the refined carbs are like your sophisticated carbs. They're all dressed up, dolled up, changed up. And then you have your no frills attached carbs, your basic, want to make you better, I'm your real friend carbs. These are the guys that you want to make up most of your diet. When you eat complex carbs, plant-based carbs, what can it do for you? You'll be amazed. You will drop those pounds. When you switch from processed foods to unprocessed carbs. And I'm a living testimony, living example. I used to be almost 80, 90 pounds overweight, and that's being a vegetarian. And when I switched to an unprocessed plant-based diet, the weight just fell off. It doesn't come off, in a week. It just comes off naturally over a few months to a year. You're down to the size you were meant to be. It helps to reverse blood pressure because now you're having foods that have a proper mix of the potassium that you need for your blood pressure, the magnesium, and the sodium in the proper balance. So now your blood pressure is more normalized. You don't have extra salt. You have the natural salt in the food. So it helps to correct blood pressure. Diabetes, that's a big problem in our country. 1 in 3 people have diabetes or pre-diabetes. And we know how bad this disease is. When you switch from processed carbs to unprocessed carbs or unrefined carbs, your diabetes will slowly reverse. And we're going to have a whole week of just diabetes, Pastor, because we need to dive into that disease and see how can we really reverse and treat our diabetes. And it's more than carbs, but that's a big part of the puzzle here. Coronary artery disease, tons of studies. I can cite you many articles that show that you can reverse your coronary artery disease. You can prevent it when you remove processed carbs, processed foods from your diet. Cancers. When you increase certain foods, they help to prevent cancer cells from dividing. Certain foods can help to prevent it, clearly linked to preventing cancers. And that will also have a whole week of just talking about cancer. Strokes, digestive problems. One of the biggest issues I hear in my clinic every week is issues with heartburn, acid reflux, upset stomach. And it's a major problem throughout our society because our foods are so refined and processed. When we switch our foods over, we can help diminish this process. And we will certainly kick the constipation out of the ballpark when we move to unprocessed carbs. Now let's talk about some practical tips because individuals, they hear these things and they're like, okay, so what do I do? How do I actually make this part of my life? And Pastor, I would certainly love to hear your input also because I know you've spent many years switching to a diet that is very unprocessed and unrefined. So any tips you want to share as well, I am happy to hear them. One thing I want to say is make water your primary beverage. A lot of the obesity in our children can be linked to the extra sugar that they're getting from candies and juice. There's way too much juice in our diet, and it's not a health food. If you're buying juice in a bottle, a box, if it's not juice that you made in your own house, it's probably, processed in some way. And if the juice has a lot of ingredients on the labels, oh boy, it's even worse. So make water your primary beverage. I know in my house, I just don't buy juice. When I go to the store, I walk straight past the juice aisle and I leave that off my grocery list. It's just, I just don't buy it anymore. I used to buy juice. I used to always have 2-3 bottles of apple juice and orange juice, thinking, oh, healthy, orange. No, I just don't buy it anymore. And so what happens now? We're all drinking more water. We just keep drinking water because that's the only thing we have to drink in the house. um,
I think if I can give a personal testimony, because
yes,
I've been a vegetarian since I was 19 years old, I think.
nice.
When I went to college, somebody challenged me, and I started down that journey and never turned back. And I
Nice.
guess I've always been a small person most of my life, but at one point I was trying very hard to put on weight. I was just eating any and everything because I just thought I was. When I was 25, I think I was 120 pounds, for example, just to give you an idea. And I
Yes,
thought that was too small, and so
yes.
I tried everything to put on pounds, and eventually put on enough where I, at least felt I was okay. Not, I would probably say maybe slightly obese, but probably over the past 7 or 8 years, because of an experience with my late wife, we just stopped drinking juice, because she
Yes.
she had cancer, and so we went to a more. She was eating a 50% or more raw diet, and I just
Yes.
kind of really wanted to support her. So, just what she ate, I ate, so that she wouldn't have to cook twice. And I was surprised to discover, just by taking that juice out of diet, not only did I found I had more money to save. I didn't realize how much money I was spending on juice. And I didn't
Yes.
realize it was that expensive.
Yes.
But then I noticed that I just started getting smaller. I was eating the same way essentially, but
Hmm.
just taking out the juice. And I
Yes.
noticed that I just and people kept saying, "Oh, you're getting younger. You're getting younger. What you doing?" I really just quit eating drinking juice.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a
Yeah, so it does
big tip.
work.
Yes, excellent. Thank you for that true testimony because I have a lot of patients who they've lost weight just by taking out juice. So that their only beverage is water. So if you are trying to lose some extra pounds, you know what? Why don't you take on that challenge? Stop buying juice when you go to the restaurant or you do takeout. Just say no, no juice, thank you, and just do water and you'll see some pounds shedding. You'll be amazed.
Yeah,
Um,
and I heard one person say, don't know how true it is, but that they were actually just drinking in the night. They were drinking a cup of tea, and it wasn't really tea. It was some type of but it was some hot drink
yes.
before bed, and they were amazed that they started to blow up.
Oh, they were getting weight.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
and so they cut it out, and they realized, and they recognized they lost the weight. So
yes,
whatever they were putting into that hot drink at night, I remember they said it was Roma, but it was some drink
yes.
that they were drinking just to go to sleep, and they'd put a little sugar, and
Hmm.
and it was blowing them up. And so
I
we
believe
can
that.
calories an interesting way.
Yes, yes, yes. Excellent point. Excellent point. So definitely the juice, the drinks, we have to look at that. And something else that's big in our society is cereals. Oh, that's a
Mhm.
multi-billion-dollar business. The cereals in the morning, and not just the morning, but some folks have cereals for lunch and for dinner. It's just so easy. They pour it out of the box. They pour on some milk, and they just get to eating the cereal and that is very processed. It's hard to find cereal that's healthy. To be honest with you, I was in the store this week and I said, I used to buy box cereal because I have lots of kids and kids love cereal, so I used to buy tons of boxes. Then I realized, you know what? Looking at the label, the third the first, second, or third ingredient is always sugar. So this is really a bad thing that I'm doing here. So I stopped buying cereals because they have a way of labeling them and making them look healthy when they are not healthy. They are deceptive. Look at the ingredients, and if one of the first three ingredients is sugar, just put it back. I was in the store this week and I was tempted to look at the boxes again. I was like, I must be able to find a cereal that's healthy. So I went to the boxes again just last week when I had to go to the grocery store and I was reading and I saw some that looked kind of healthy, crunchy granola kind of. So I was reading and I was like, oh, I couldn't buy any because in all of them, even though they had all the flax and they had all the brand and they had all the perfect words to look healthy, the ingredients gave it away. Sugar was always in the top three. So I just had to give up and say, back to my oats. Oats are a great breakfast in the morning. You can add your own sweetener. You can control your sugar. You don't even have to add sugar. You can also have things like um, cornmeal or other grains where you control the amount of sugar you're adding. You can have baked potatoes for breakfast. You can get very creative with your breakfast options, but try not to buy those box cereals because they're really not a health food. Switching our breads up. White bread is definitely not a health food. That's well established now. And sometimes whole wheat bread may not even be much better. If you have diabetes and you want to control your blood sugar better, they say rye bread has a slower release of sugar. So rye may be a better option. In my house, I buy Ezekiel bread because it's a real dense, heavy sprouted bread, and it's high in fiber. And when you have one slice of that bread, you are full. You know the fiber is in there. Have you ever had Ezekiel bread before, Pastor?
Yes, I've had it because it was once a staple in my house. No more, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you want a bread, I don't eat much bread anymore, but I certainly eat it every now and again. My boys love bread. I mean, they're boys. They want to make
Mhm.
sandwiches all the time. So I need something that's the best choice, and that's the bread I go to. Or I'll get rye bread and they'll eat it. It's an acquired taste almost, but it certainly is better with the sugar surges, and it has a lot more nutrients than white bread. If you need snacks, and kids, they
I'm
sometimes
just
need,
I'm just curious, always the Bible said bread is the staff of life, so I'm like
yeah.
into the bread seed. I'm just curious. So you're saying daily bread intake might not be a good idea?
Everybody is different. It depends on your health conditions. Now, if you're
Hmm.
in robust, good health, you can have Ezekiel bread every day if you want. My kids have Ezekiel bread every day because they make their sandwiches when I'm not around. They want to eat something, so they make a sandwich. But if you are suffering from, let's say, diabetes or a cancer or an autoimmune disease, I would say consider making your staple starch a tuber, a root vegetable, when you really want to treat illness. So make it a potato instead of bread. Make it a sweet potato. Bake a sweet potato. Boil some yellow yam. These starchy type foods are healing. They have resistant starch, which really helps to heal the colon and the intestine. And so you decrease this thing called leaky gut and decrease transition of toxins into your bloodstream. So it depends on what your health condition is. So if you don't have obesity, you don't have diabetes, you don't have cancer, sure, go ahead and have your slice of Ezekiel or rye bread every morning. That's fine. But if you have other things going on, think about it twice. Now I have a little few pounds that I don't want to see lingering, so I don't eat bread every day. So I'm careful about that. All right, make snacks, raw fruits or vegetables. Those are fast,
I was just
easy.
curious about one thing you said, Doc, because
Yes,
because I was in, for example, the bread, the diabetes issue. Seems like sweet potatoes, that's sweet. That doesn't impact, let's say, diabetes in opposition to the bread.
that's an excellent question. Such an excellent question because folks with diabetes are perpetually confused about what to eat. It's like a chronic state of confusion. So, the issue with diabetes, believe it or not, is not so much the starch, but it's the fat. And the latest studies have confirmed that. When you remove the fat from your diet, you allow the sugar to enter your cells and control your blood sugar level. Um, so that is where you need to put your focus on. Remove the meat that has fat in there, remove the butter, remove the oil. Those are the things that you want to look at. And when it comes to starches, replace your starches from processed ones to unprocessed ones, and you'll be much better off with your sweet potatoes than your white bread. Definitely. And we will have a whole week on diabetes. I'd certainly love to give you a schedule so you can know when to expect what talk, but the schedule changes based on our conversation together. It changes based on world events, so it's hard to stick to the one that I've put out, that I've planned. But we will talk about diabetes at length because folks need to know how to treat their diabetes and how to reverse it. Eat more baked tubers, like
I
I said
believe,
before.
Doc, we might be out of time. It's after
Okay.
10. We're having a good time together. But I think,
Okay.
yeah, I think I might have extended the server, but yeah. So we're after 10. So we can pick up here on Friday.
Yes,
And
sure, no problem, because there's a lot to talk about. And if there are any questions that folks send in, please, I'm happy to answer them, because I really want us to be empowered about how to make the best choices to prevent and reverse disease.